Right, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. Well, everybody, welcome to episode number 73. We are honored to have Rick Ruskin, who's the Chief Sales Officer at Effectual. And we are sponsored by DecisionLink. The way I look at it, they're the premier and best and only value selling platform out there today. So, one of the things all sales teams struggle with is, okay, you got all these slides of technical mumbo jumbo, but how do you really say, how do you impact revenue? How do you get competitive advantage? How do you save money? DecisionLink has a great way to kind of automate that in a software platform. So definitely recommend that you check them out. Our title for today with Rick is building a world-class go-to-market team from the ground up. And also, I just got to put in a commercial on Thursday. Here's our deck. So on Thursday, we are co-hosting with Sales Impact Academy session from 11 to 12. And I think Tucker is going to put the link on there. I think it's been invite only, but we're opening it up to anybody that is on this podcast. It's called Revenue Leaders Masterclass, Measuring What Matters. And we're going to be tag teaming there with Sales Impact Academy. And for those that don't know, I consider them kind of a Peloton app for sales training. So if you think about how you can do live classes or recorded classes, in this case, we're going to have Mandy Cole, who's considered an expert in this area. So for those that want to check it out, it's going to be Thursday from 11 to 12. It will be live, like everything that we do. Revenue Leaders Masterclass, Measuring What Matters with Sales Impact Academy. And Tucker, thanks for pulling that forward. And as always, brought to you by Sales Community. Check us out, salescommunity.com. If you want to learn more, sell more, and network with the best go-to-market individual contributors and leaders that are out there. So actually, Rick, we didn't actually figure out when we first met. I usually do that with the, in the prep session. But I know you're a great family person, 7 kids, 4 daughter-in-laws. I think the ages ranging the kids between 14 and 31. So certainly a good spread there.
Yep.
I know you're a very respected sales leader. You're a huge friend of the channel. You have a great following. Truth be told, which we might talk about later on, we actually recruited you to Effectual. Most of the time we recruit sales leaders, and then they kind of let us also help with hiring, but you've got such a great following that you didn't need any help from us on the recruiting side. So good news for you, bad news for us at Top Talent Recruiting. And I had a great session with your team. I think it was a couple months ago.
In January.
QBR talking about the book and kind of just general Q&A, but certainly you're off to great things. Rob Allen, who's the awesome CEO at Effectual, says Rick is killing it. Love having him. So that's probably about as good as we can get. And I also have fond memories. We did a sales call with Ed Walsh, who was running a big business at IBM, and connected us with the M&A group. So we were both trying to help Cominario in terms of doing something with IBM. And obviously, for a bunch of reasons, probably mostly they got in their own way.
We should have taken the deal.
Yeah. Cominario decided didn't want to do it. So big lesson learned. And Edson's gone on to Chaos Search and doing great things.
Yep. And
I guess a couple negatives on you if we just get it out of the way. So you're a Mets and Giants fan. So that, nothing we can do. All right, we still need you. Don't leave.
It's my boyhood hero, Tom Seaver.
There you go. I said that to Tucker and I at a Zoom yesterday with somebody at a Mets. I said, wasn't the last time they were good when Tom Seaver played? And he said, no, we want to.
We were in the World Series 5 years ago, but
exactly. And I know on the company side with Effectual, you continue to have big growth plans, adding reps, adding new partners, and things continue to go great. So I'm sure this session will be fantastic. So kicking it off, why don't you tell us a bit about your professional background?
Sure. So this was all I've ever done, frankly. My background is I'm a kid from Queens, New York, and went to University of Colorado, then went to graduate school at Columbia. That was my first sales call, convinced them to let me into Columbia probationary, and I got in. And actually, it's interesting. I had a friend from high school, worked at McDonald's together, and he went right from school to the tech industry, and I went from school to graduate school, and I was, busting my ass and working multiple jobs and doing all this stuff, not making any money, accumulating debt. And my friend from McDonald's says, "Hey, you should come interview with this company." So I went over there, didn't own a suit, got a suit and tie, went over there. They offered me the job. So I started in tech at a very young age. Company is called System Industries. There was some really interesting people there, great mentors for me. 2 years into it, never having sold, I was the top sales guy out of over 100 reps worldwide. Flew in the Concorde, won some great things, a great experience. And then really, I was recruited with a bunch of other young guys from them to start a company called MTI Technology. I didn't join the first day, but I joined soon thereafter. I learned a lot of lessons, great mentorship. I don't know if there's a guy named Bob Getz, who was really my mentor there, phenomenal guy, taught me a lot. And MTI was a storage company. This was kind of early EMC days. And I started there in 90 and we went public in 95 and then wound up running worldwide sales. We wound up with a multi-billion-dollar market cap and great experience. And the kid from Queens, who'd never been west of Trenton, New Jersey, when I graduated high school, did business in almost every U.S. state in about 25 countries. So it was really great. And then that actually ran its course in about 2007. And then the contacts I made in the investment community, we were a public company, started pulling me in to get the next MTI going. So since then, I've done 5 or 6 startups, and not all have been phenomenal, but a couple have exited since then. So that's kind of what I do. I had a great experience early on, running a big sales organization worldwide. And since then, I've started a bunch of companies from the ground up, and we've had quite a bit of success.
Awesome. Congrats.
That's a very short version of that story, by the way.
There you go. No, that's all right. Yeah, short is good. So looks like coincidentally, Brian Montoya, who's at Salesbricks, he's the one that had the Mets jersey on. So
nice.
Says, let's go Mets. Yes, the franchise. Exactly. I don't want to piss him off, but I don't know if it's still considered a franchise, but anyway. So tell us maybe a little bit more about Effectual.
Yep. So Effectual is a very interesting company. Relevant to the story is, as you well know, because you recruited me in there, my first day was March 16th, 2020. I went to the office in Hoboken, New Jersey, all excited to take on the challenge. I picked up my laptop and the world shut down that day. But Rob Allen, to his credit, didn't say you're off the hook. So we had to start building the company, a little slow at first. But the last 2 years have just been phenomenal. So Effectual is a cloud services company. We migrate companies to the cloud. We modernize their environment, applications and platforms, things like that. And then we manage the business. We manage their cloud business. And, Rob had come from DataPipe, ran it from the beginning till they sold to Rackspace, did incredibly well. DataPipe was a data center company initially, became a managed service company, and he really wanted to start a business that was not encumbered by brick and mortar, but was all about managed services. So that's what Effectual is. And Randy, part of it was good execution. Part of it was people looking for a new challenge, especially during the pandemic. Part of it is that cloud migrations, modernization, just a really hot area right now, and we've had spectacular growth in those 2 years. When I joined, I inherited a team of 2 basically, and one of those 2 is an amazing guy. He was our sales guy, our SA. He was our Salesforce administrator. Now he's chief growth officer of the business, and the team is now 35 to 40 people. Virtually everybody hired over Zoom during the pandemic.
Wow, that's crazy. Tana, what you're allowed to do to talk about in terms of size, customers, things like that?
Yeah. So I won't give all the specifics. We're private. You know that deal. But when I joined, we're about 25 people. Today we're about 250 people. About 80% of that is comprised of engineers, cloud architects, and that's part of our go-to-market. Is we've assembled an amazing team of cloud architects with specializations in security, networking, virtualization, all the different aspects of it. So that's about the size. We first started, we were doing business with relatively small companies. This past quarter, we sold big projects to some of the biggest companies in America. I'm not sure I have permission to say who they are, but Fortune 100 type companies and big comprehensive projects, basically modernizing the entire cloud architecture of these companies. So we've really come a long way in a short period of time.
Great. So if you think about your ICP, large companies, kind of who's usually the executive kind of decision maker, and are you kind of all industries, all segments, all geos?
Yeah, I'm often asked what our vertical focus is, and our vertical focus is companies going to the cloud, which is every company, frankly.
Yeah.
Early on, it was a lot of, smaller companies that, wanted to leverage the cloud, so you didn't have to have data centers and operations people. But, as most people I'm sure know, the biggest companies in the world now are doing massive migrations into the cloud. And we've won on our PubSec side, we've won 10-year contracts. Actually, it's public, it's on our website. One of the biggest deals we won was $150 million migration for Ginnie Mae, partnered with Deloitte and Bank of New York. This is all public information. And over a 10-year period to modernize the entire infrastructure out of data centers and into the cloud 100%.
Wow.
That's a big one, but that's an example of the kind of projects that we do.
That's great. And then who's usually the executive kind of decision maker?
So in most of these companies now, it depends what we're doing. So in some really large companies, we're doing a lot of like security, cloud security. So we're dealing with the CISO and the head of the security teams. A lot of big companies now have a senior exec responsible for the cloud because it's so strategic and such a big investment. Some of the smaller companies, we're dealing with CEOs and CTOs and people like that. So it really depends on the size of the company.
Oh, that's great. What are you allowed to say about your funding and valuation?
So publicly, as we've had one outside round, $50 million, led by Lumerity Capital and shoot.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. What about, can you talk about valuation?
Well, there hasn't been anything else since then, but I can tell you that at the size of our revenue growth at this point, it's grown significantly since that first round.
Gotcha. I probably should have taken our recruiting fee in stock.
Well, I was going to say, you've mentioned that you should have invested early on. I think that's why you're asking about our valuation.
Yeah, crazy. So say from a recruiting perspective, what would you tell a recruit? Why is your culture special?
So, what I actually do is I've got a couple people in my team who've been there since the beginning with me. Some of these guys have been with me in previous companies, which is part of, the magic of the recruiting. And I let them speak to them, talk about the culture. So I'm obviously very excited about the company and our growth and things like that. It's a very, Rob has allowed us to have a very sales oriented culture. We're very aggressive. We have an amazing comp plan. Guys are, considering the size and how long we've been doing this, are doing really well financially. A good rep wants to see all that stuff. We're very collaborative. We meet a lot virtually. We discuss our wins. We discuss our losses. For a sales professional who's interested in that kind of aggressive environment in a hot space, probably the hottest space right now, it's a great place to be.
Oh, that's great. And you got some awards, AWS and VMware as well?
Yeah, so last year in 2021, again, remember, we kind of started the go-to-market in 2020. At the beginning of 2021, we actually acquired a company that at the end of 19, which we integrated in 20. It focused in the public sector. Great team, great talent, brought a lot of certifications, things like that. So at the beginning of 21, we won. It's called PTP, but we were the PTP Public Sector Partner of the Year for AWS. Big deal. The phone really was ringing off the hook when that was announced. Then at the end of the year, at AWS reInvent in December, pardon my voice, we won the VMware Growth Partner of the Year for AWS. And obviously, AWS is gathering up most of the virtual workloads in the enterprise are going to AWS as opposed to other clouds. So to win that, and the people we won it against, big global SIs, big public VARs, and as I say, little Effectual took the award out because we've just done amazing work on that side.
That's awesome. And you also, I was looking through, you also have the Effectual logo on the boards at the Edmonton Oilers, right?
We do. So we have a great partnership with the AWS team in Canada. Something that we are often engaged on is this was a Edmonton Oilers, bigger infrastructure than you might think for the Oilers. And they were looking to renew their contracts with a very prominent hardware storage company that you guys all know. And they were about to sign a 3-year lease on new equipment. AWS got in there and said, hey, before you do that, time out, speak to Effectual. So we got in there, we spoke to them about migrating their VMware on-prem to VMC in the cloud. We did a POC, which AWS funded, and it went spectacularly well. And now they're migrating their entire environment to AWS. No more data center infrastructure or minimal. And because of that, when you watch an Edmonton Oilers game and the opposing team, the visiting team comes out of the bench, right on the boards says Effectual. So it's a pretty big deal. And I will say we're now engaged in several other NHL teams as well.
Gotcha. You're probably interested in doing the Bruins, I would imagine.
They haven't called us yet, but I'd love a contact there.
There you go. And I see Ryan Ledger chimed in, who did the heavy lifting with you. Nice to see you, Rick. So awesome.
Hey, Ryan, good to see you.
So also just as a reminder, so, thanks for the chatter. So if anybody wants to post any questions or any comments or heckle or anything like that, certainly feel free. You can see us or hear us. We cannot see you. So certainly feel free to chime in with any questions or comments. Really appreciate that. So the topic is building a world-class go-to-market team from the ground up. So maybe give us intro comments about that.
So, again, as I mentioned, we this and a few other companies, I got involved very early on, and we've been able to build those companies out and had a couple of exits around it. So, I've got a lot of strong philosophies on it. And obviously we're talking to go to market now. So, you need a strong team, you need investment, you need a lot of other things. But in terms of go to market, the first thing you want to do is you want to pick the proper sales team. And, I've had a lot of people from my past who've said, hey, what are you doing next? We've had a success together. Let's go. And the DNA wasn't right. So, Effectual is a services business. We're very consultative. A consultative sale is very different than selling a product. So you need the right DNA. You need the right people with the right, mindset, the right level of patience. Still got to be aggressive and go for the close, but you need people who have that kind of mindset. So certain people who want to do the deal, want to have the sales call, want to get the order, want to ship the product, get paid right away, may not be a great fit for them in a company like this where there's a lot of discussions. It's such a strategic thing, migrating out of your data centers into the cloud. There is a lot of meetings before you get to the sale, a lot of patience. And then often the projects start off with a relatively small POC or discovery session, whatever. And then it leads to something larger. And, this all happens over a period of time. So you need the right DNA there. And then you need the right, partners for these folks. So, we have an amazing solution architect team. And they're folks who have a lot of sales DNA, but also understand the consultative side. And they all come from a technical background, obviously. So you need to marry those teams up so you have, the right sales DNA with the right solution architect DNA. And then, the third leg of the stool, and there's a lot more to it than that, but the third leg is, you don't want to be evangelizing for years before you get your first sale. And in the current environment, the days of hiring 100 sales reps on your VC round pretty much over until you've proven yourself.
Yeah.
So something I'm very passionate about. And I know like Ken Doherty is a member of this, and he and I have actually done this together. You need to build up a strong channel organization to get to market quicker, to get to the clients quicker. Frankly, at the beginning of Effectual's run, nobody knew the name. We had to tell them who we are. So working with larger partners who have relationships, know what some of the projects are, have some contractual things in place, bring some name recognition. That's really an important aspect of it. So if you get the right salespeople with the right technical team, and you establish a good go-to-market avenue through the right partners, you can get your revenue going pretty quickly. And again, we've been able to accomplish that.
Wow. And then you touched on culture kind of in your comments. Anything else that you would kind of highlight from a culture perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I want people who have obviously been successful, who are ambitious, who are kind of fearless. You're going to get some rejection. There's no doubt about it. And people who don't take that personally and just keep moving along. I try and, present that kind of image myself, and from my perspective, early days, I consider myself an individual contributor, even though I'm chief sales officer. So I've called all my friends, all my relationships, leveraging the best partnerships that I've had over the years. And it's important to get things going. It's also important to show people that you've got the skin of the game and you're going to bring your best relationships and not wait for the company to be $100 million company. Gotcha.
And I think your more poignant feedback is basically no a-holes.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought it up. So again, we're a very tight knit, very collaborative team. People are paired up on different projects based on relationships and geography and skill set. And because of that, if I can be so bold, I have a no asshole rule that, if you're going to be part of this team at this stage in the company, you can't be just worried about yourself. You can't be worried about someone who's got a relationship in your territory and they're screwing you over and things like that. Everyone's got to take care of their families and want to do well, but they've also got to be focused on the greater good of the company.
Yeah, absolutely. And I forgot, when you started, was there already kind of product market fit, or were you still kind of figuring that out?
No, I mean, Rob and Rich Dolan, who's our CMO, Mike Parks, who's CIO, they all were at DataPipe together. They had the focus. They knew where we're going. The gun was pointed in that direction. But of course, we've learned a lot of lessons, right? We went to the market with certain messages and things like that, and that didn't work so well. So let's not do that again. And then something resonated. Again, importance of a team is, hey, I had a great meeting. Here's how I presented. They were blown away by it, and everybody kind of learns from it. So yeah, the marching orders were, services, AWS focus, migrate and manage and modernize. But the idiosyncrasies, the message have obviously evolved.
Right. So, obviously focus on AWS. You're not doing anything with kind of Google or any of the other Azure, any other cloud provider.
We're really not, Randy. I mean, we'll do a little bit. An application has to be modernized and sit on Azure. We'll do something like that every now and then, but we will not. We don't promote those guys. We have a great relationship with AWS. They engage us to do a lot of projects, and if you've ever worked with AWS, it's not an easy thing. We had to gain their trust, right? So we do spend a lot of time cultivating that relationship and working hard. And frankly, if a customer said to us, "Hey, I love everything you're saying, but I want to migrate my VMware to Google," we would not do the project.
Gotcha. You ever deal with Rich Girafo or Dan Belanger or any of those guys?
I know those guys.
Yeah, great people.
I'm just reading this on the bottom there.
AWS, exactly. So here's a comment. Here's a great quote from the team at Tiny Capital. So I guess they invested in you guys?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. So whoever Tiny Capital is, no assholes. Life is too short for brilliant jerks, assholes, psychopaths, narcissists, and all that stuff. There you go. All right.
That's pretty funny.
No name, LinkedIn user. So before I forget, I want to mention you're kind enough to contribute to my book and get it for your team. And interestingly enough, you're telling me a story about your essays using the book.
Yes. Yeah. So it was interesting that Randy actually presented at our kickoff, our virtual kickoff, and we got. If you guys are all on this, you probably know about this book. Mine you can see is a little dog-eared, so I open it all the time. And I asked Randy to actually present to the team. They hear from me all the time. And Randy talked about, he highlighted different people who have contributed to it, some interesting stories. And the sales guys, some of which know Randy, they were some EMC folks and stuff like that were really into it. And my solution architect team, I think, thought it was a little too salesy for them, which is okay. They wanted more technical content. I find out a few weeks later that on some of their weekly meetings, they're actually going through the book and they're highlighting things which they think is relevant to their business, solution architects selling, but selling the technical side of things. So I thought the sales guys would be doing that. I'm not sure if they've all read it like I have, but our solution architects love the book.
Awesome. That's great. So let me pull some pieces here that you wrote that are timeless. So there's 3 of them. First one is be proud of being a salesperson.
Yep.
You want to maybe explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, my title is Chief Sales Officer, not Chief Revenue Officer. I've seen people, although we all know what CRO is, some people think it's a finance guy. So, being Chief Sales Officer, when I get on a call or I go into a meeting, there's no ambiguity about what I'm there for. I'm there to make a deal, to close a sale. I evangelize all the time, be proud. Some of my millennial folks think, salesperson is not such a cool topic to have. But I point out to them that if they're ambitious and want to do well financially in most companies, outside the senior execs, the highest paid people are salespeople. So, be proud of it and let people know what you're there for.
Well, that's awesome. And the next one is...
Did you want me to mention the story in there? Because it's kind of a funny story.
Sure.
I mean, you can read the book, you can see it, but this was early 2000s. My company were working on a very large multi-million-dollar deal with a Wall Street firm, and we'd done all this work, and they wanted to have kind of the closing meeting. So I flew some people in for this meeting, and we sit down at this big long desk, and our team's on one side, their team, I won't mention who it is, their team's on the other side, and their VP of technology walks in, kind of an arrogant guy, sits down around the room. He's a bunch of guys wearing suit and ties. He's like, all right, guys, I don't want a sales meeting here. I don't want a sales call. So from the other end of the room, I took my book and my binder and I went like this. And he's like, what's your deal? I said, well, I brought all these people in. These some brilliant technical folks who've been working on this proposal, working with your team here. So we're going to present our findings and our recommendations. But at the end of the day, I want to sell you something. That's why I flew them all in here. So make no doubt about it. We're here to sell you something. The room's kind of quiet. He's kind of looking there. He goes, all right, proceed. And we got the sale.
Perfect. Well, reality is you're trying to help them.
Yeah.
Just a way to enable them. All right. And other great one is make training a way of life for your company, which you live and breathe.
Yep. So it's just, it's just philosophical that, we're constantly learning, we're constantly evolving. So, we, at our company, we try and do weekly training. I'll be honest, end of a quarter, I may not do training. I may focus more on the forecast at our weekly meetings, but, this means putting in and disciplining it and not letting the weekly schedule, the monthly schedule change it. Putting in a very comprehensive new hire training so people get off to a great start. When you finish a quarter and your team is together, do more comprehensive training, and then literally every week be doing updates and training and lessons learned and FAQs, so the team's just constantly getting better all the time. So it's something I've always believed in. All my companies have done it.
Yeah, that's great. And then last one you have is perspectives and philosophies leading from the front.
So, you asked me earlier if I'm traveling. I don't have COVID right now. I just have a cold. That does happen. But I have been traveling almost, first few months, nobody traveled. And then I started traveling when I could, when there was a little gap. And I've always done it. I have 2.5 million United miles. I've frankly done business in 42 states on the ground, in someone's office. And I actually believe it sets the right perspective for your team. If they see you out there, you're hustling, you're going out there, you're doing the meetings, then they're going to feel they need to do it also. I just think it sets the right tone.
Yeah, absolutely. So if others want to get some great tidbits, Tucker, you can maybe post it, but you can go to salescommunity.com/book to get it and check it out. And several advisory board members have gotten them for their team as well, similar to what Rick has done. So just another shout out before I forget, Decision Link, great mugs, but great value selling platform. Rick, how important has kind of the concept of value selling been to you and your teams over the years?
It's everything. I mean, Randy, early on, we were selling, little storage boxes, and it was about, who had the best speeds and feeds and best price and things like that. The industry's come way past that. I don't think that really resonates in any kind of business anymore. So if you can't prove the value, there has to be an ROI almost every time, right? People do not buy cool technology anymore. They buy stuff that's going to add value to their business, going to add to their bottom line and things like that. So you need to sell the entire package. As a consulting company, we need to sell outcomes, that you're going to engage us to do this. We have experience at, doing projects that, even though you got some smart folks in your company, we've done 100 of these, you've done one. So you want to bring in someone who's got that level of experience. So selling value, selling the outcome, selling the ROI, it's what it's all about these days. And again, building the go-to-market team from the ground up, you've got to get people on your team who understand that.
Gotcha. And in your proposals, are you actually able to quantify? So if obviously a lot of the words sound good, but from a CFO perspective, they're all about, hey, show me the numbers. What are you doing to help me increase revenue, save money? In your proposal, you're actually able to come up with some concrete dollars that you work with the customers on?
Yeah, 100%. So if we can't do that, it never happens. So we need to, when we're moving someone into the cloud, we need to quantify what their on-premise costs are, and then contrast them with what they're going to be in the cloud, right? And the thing about the cloud is, if you move a couple of workloads over, you really haven't shut down your data center or anything like that. So right. You can actually increase your cost. So our business is really about modernizing the environment, trying to realize the full ROI of the cloud is to be able to move not just the VM workloads over there, but move mainframes to the cloud, not the physical mainframe, but the applications. Move expensive SQL databases into the cloud, running on instances that AWS provides. Taking on-premise analytics platforms and running them in the cloud. When you do all that stuff, you've really reduced your on-premise cost, and then the cloud has a phenomenal ROI. And if we don't do that, we don't get any business.
Gotcha. Sounds great. So reminder, we have Rick Ruskin, Chief Sales Officer at Effectual. Feel free to chime in with any other comments or questions.
And I usually sound better than this. Sorry about the voice today.
You're good. That's all right. Raspy's all right. Just don't, just hang in there. So we've both been around the block for a while. Maybe talk about how you've seen sales change, kind of the role of, I'll say, CRO slash CSO, kind of marketing, customer success. You've got Rich Dolan, who's a fantastic partner on the marketing side.
Yep. Well, it's changed a lot. When I first started in that first company, I went to the office and they gave me this binder about this thick, and it had paper printed computer intelligence leads. And I said, holy crap, where do I start? And they said, on the first one. And literally you got the telephone out and you just started calling, right? Well, first of all, we use, technology now. We use things like Salesforce.com. Just dialing for dollars is not going to be very successful anymore. People have cell phones and they see who's calling, and pretty much they're going to block you if they don't know you. So you got to be smarter. You've got to have a great partnership with your CMO like I do, and you've got to do some really good stuff, SEO and things like that, to drive people to the website so they discover you. And then, then it's a warmed up call as opposed to a cold call. And frankly, you've got to leverage the partnerships and the alliances and things like that When we started, we went at it alone. Nowadays, again, we're going to work with companies I mentioned, like a Deloitte. We just did a press announcement with Trace 3, so I can mention them, that we're going to market with them. These are big companies, big names, great relationships. Partnering with guys like that, we don't have to do a lot of cold calling. We can leverage our expertise and our experience. They've got a lot of the relationships. It's a really nice marriage.
Oh, so you're I mean, most sales teams struggle with they'll have a SDR group or BDR group that is kind of primary focus, trying to get kind of warm at bats. They spend too much time cold calling. So it sounds like what you're doing is really leveraging the channel. So you really have all your reps are kind of always having what I'd call kind of warm discussions as opposed to cold discussions.
Yep. I mean, not to say we don't call our own relationships. A lot of our early clients were, past relationships that,
Right.
that I did business with, some of our reps did. But again, what we do is so strategic to call, a Fortune 100 company and say, hey, you guys want to go to the cloud this week? I mean, that's never going to happen. So you've got to form strategic partnerships with alliance partners. If you look at our website, we're very tightly aligned with VMware and with AWS. We have a bunch of these large VAR partners, like I mentioned. We even have some global SIs, as I mentioned. Creating a ecosystem like that will keep our people very busy and engaged in large projects. So no, we haven't really invested in ISRs and cold calling and things like that. And I don't really think at this stage will be that effective.
Oh, that's great.
In the past, I've used it extensively.
Sure.
But not what we're doing here.
Oh, that's great. And what about kind of what you're doing around kind of rev ops or sales ops, and that whole field has certainly grown immensely, from what it used to be 5-10 years ago to what's available now.
Yep. So, as we've grown quickly, we've evolved some of the tools, and so right now we're really settling on the Salesforce platform, and we're using CPQ for a quoting system. It's tied into our financial system. So that's really where we're focused. I've got a couple of people who are brilliant at Salesforce. I'm a good user. I'm not a good writer of reports and things like that. So you want to have those kind of specialties in your business. But I'm a huge advocate for Salesforce.com. I've used it almost since it came out.
Wow, that's great. So is there actually, you're talking about when CPQ, the config price quote, is there actually a company called CPQ?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, interesting. All right.
Correct.
I think Brian from SalesBricks, that's a up and comer that's aggressively going after that space. So
yeah, nice. No, we actually just put it in place. It's not even operational yet. Now we've got some consultants integrating it, but it's going to make it kind of one-stop shopping for all the information, kind of a quote to cash view of our business.
Great, awesome. And unfortunately, not all the time LinkedIn names don't get pulled up, but somebody says, Rick, good to see you here. I'll be sure to grab a copy. So feel free to say your name. We'll get you some airtime and exposure. And we talked a lot about the channel. So, from what I've seen, they went from kind of just, I'll say, hardware, software, resellers to a lot of them, especially the ones you're working with, Trace 3 and others, kind of really much more kind of solution centric, leveraging their great relationships. What have you seen?
So I don't want to give away all of our secrets, Randy. But there are these companies.
You can talk about just kind of how you've seen the channel overall.
No, I'm kidding. So, we've invested in seriously a world-class team of engineers, and the going rate for engineers with these kind of skill sets is getting higher and higher all the time. Companies are, we're taking people, give them raises, and then, and occasionally we'll lose them.
Yeah, but you're giving them a book, so that helps with you give the book helps with retention, right?
Exactly. Join the company, read the book, and you'll be all set. So we found that a lot of these traditional resellers and VARs, and if you're familiar with the master agent concept, and their agents, they have long-term relationships. These are people who've been selling, the Cisco and the HP and the Dell and the Pure and all that stuff to years for these companies. They got the standing Sunday morning tea time with the CIO, and then the CIO says to him, look, no more hardware. We're not shutting down the data centers right away, but we're going cloud. Can you help us? And these guys just don't have the team, and they don't want to go hire 200 people like we have. So we formed these partnerships where they've got the relationships, they know where the projects are, they understand the process. We have the expertise. Initially, some of these folks said to us, "Hey, we want to keep you under the covers," but Effectual has got all these certifications, all these awards. So we're really, with these much larger companies, we're going shoulder to shoulder out there. We provide the expertise and the people. They've got the trust, and 1 + 1 = 5 for us. So that's why I'm so passionate about the channel.
That's awesome. And let's see, we have from Roy Carmel. Thanks, Roy. Good discussion. Thank you, Randy Seidel. I'll be looking at the book, Rick Ruskin. So Rick and Ryan, Brian, feel free to ask any questions too. There's got to be some things on your mind you want to ask. But otherwise, let me keep moving on here. So maybe talk about some mentors that you've had, advice that you've received.
Yeah. So I mentioned, person who brought me into MTI, Bob Getz. He's been a friend now for about 30 years. I had a lot of mentors. What I learned early on is that, you don't have to be a jerk to be tough. People don't, professionals who have other options don't want to work with someone who's going to berate them or embarrass them and things like that. It's never been my style. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, it's kind of interesting. There's an over the top glowing recommendation of me. It's like almost too much. It was written by somebody after I fired her. Excuse me, kind of funny. But, I was very upfront. She always knew where she stood. I told her what she had to do. Didn't work out. And she appreciated I was honest with her. So, if you're honest with people and you treat them with respect, they'll want to do well for you. They'll respect you. But, if you don't treat them like that, they're going to be short term with you. I've had people, I've been lucky enough, and, I'm the lucky one, not them, been with me for 3 and 4 different companies, have followed me, have done well. We've done well together. And, and just by that level of respect, builds a lot of loyalty.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, I think it's lost, but, I think we're similar schools of thoughts around the whole kind of just performance management, side of things. It shouldn't be a surprise. It should be an ongoing discussion. There should be feedback, and everybody should know where they stand. And I think too often this day and age, people are passive aggressive. They don't want to confront. And then all of a sudden, well, your numbers are off, so therefore you're gone. And I always say, I know you're the same, is, kind of treat people how you want to be treated, right? So you want to kind of have a heads up, know kind of what the scorecard is, what's the subjective, objective behavior. And in those discussions, not only is it kind of, I'll say the, employee, but the manager should also be saying, which I know you do, hey, what can I do different and better? So it's kind of a two-way street around kind of just that whole performance management discussion. So you do get cases like that where you may have to let somebody go, but they say, hey, I was treated more than fair, had a fair shot, no disagreement.
Yep, absolutely. I don't think anyone I've had to let go, unless they've done something bad, has happened once or twice over the year.
Yes.
But if it's just performance based, they're a good person, they try. If anything, probably one of my biggest weaknesses is I'll hang in there with someone who's not performing but really working hard, probably longer than I should. But I think overall that's a good trait to have. Yeah. Hey, Randy, by the way, it's been bothering me for the last half hour. Catalyst was our other investor.
There you go. Okay.
My head was elsewhere, so I apologize. They're listening. Amazing guys, amazing board members, very supportive. The Meridian Capital, the Catalyst.
Love it. Great. So what advice would you give to your younger self?
It's a marathon, not a sprint, right? I've gone very hard for a long time. That's a great question. Pair yourself up when you move into situations. I've learned a lot of business lessons, and unfortunately, you have to learn them for yourself sometimes. I've done this VC thing now for a while. Can I tell a quick story? My first VC deal, good business lesson. So MTI was funded by mainly one individual, and then we went public. So my first VC deal, I was being recruited by somebody, a very cool company. We eventually sold it to SDK. But the company was running a little low on cash. I wanted to do it. And I said to him, when you get your next round, you got money in the bag, then I'll make the change. I'll come join you guys. So he sends me a press announcement. They've got a new round, $25 million, new capital, all that. So I joined the company. I go to my first exec meeting the first morning there, and everyone's kind of introducing themselves and giving their overview. And the CFO says, okay, as of this morning, we have $5 million in the bank. So I'm like, timeout. I'm like, what happened to the $25 million investment? And all the other execs turned to the CEO and said, you didn't tell them about the bridge loan, did you?
Huh.
So there was a short fuse on that one, so you learn different things along the way. That's one that has stuck with me for a long time. But my younger self, full of piss and vinegar, I still am, frankly. Just take it a little slower sometimes, take a little more time for yourself. I've been blessed, Randy. I've had a great career, and I've got a lot of blessings around me. So I have no regrets on anything I've done, anywhere I've gone. They've all been lessons, if nothing else.
Excellent. All right, and Tucker, we have a question from Ashish Shah. Ashish, thanks. Hey, Rick, hope you're doing well. I've worked very closely with Mr. Allen, the entire team over at Data Pipe Transition Rackspace. Actually, when I was at HP, I was the exec sponsor in, so I know he can definitely be a tough cookie for sure. Anyway, so Ashish feels the band is back and going to do great things again. I call Rob Allen.
Rob with two B's.
Yeah. Got that, Ashish? Rob Allen, Elon Musk. So would you equate Rob at all to Elon Musk?
Rob is very smart. He's, we have Slack channels, and he's very kind of ethereal. He'll put really interesting things on there. He's got, big ideas and things like that. So yeah, Rob, if you're listening, I equate him to Elon Musk.
All right, there you go. Looks like we have a follow-up too from Ashish. I mean, it might be a commercial for him. I manage global system integrators over at HPE, and I feel all of the same stories and all the GSIs chasing the same talent pool. And it feels like services businesses are becoming more of a commodity and margin compression. What do you think?
So, the talent pool point is absolutely the case, right? There's not that many people. As big as this market is, rough and tough. I think the last Gartner report said, the cloud services business was 250 billion with a B last year, and it's about 20% penetrated. So there is not nearly enough talent out there to satisfy all this. And when we've gone after people, great people, made them great offers, and we didn't get them. What we're doing as a company, we're evolving out of the more commoditized parts of the business. So, migrating VMs from a data center to the cloud, fairly commoditized at this point. Although I'd say we have, more experience than most. But things like looking at a mainframe application and modernizing it, and that doesn't mean rewriting the code so it looks the exact same in the cloud, but look at what the outcomes are in the mainframe and then using modern technologies to have it exist in the cloud. That's not commoditized. That's very specialized and very unique. So those are the kind of things that we're focused on going forward.
Oh, that's great. So Nour is not here. He's doing a off-site with Bill Hogan at Beyond Identity, but he usually asks if there's any PG Randy stories.
Well, you told the first one. Well, the thing about Randy is that I've been in the storage and the backup business until like the last 10 years in the services, and whenever I've mentioned to anybody from that world, I came to Effectual because of Randy. They all have Randy stories. So I think I'm pretty well connected. I'm nothing compared to the network you've got, Randy. Everybody seems to know you. But we really haven't done anything. We actually went fishing one day, and I don't think anything came out of that story. So we need to go out and create one.
There you go. We got to create more stories for sure. Then Ashish, so thanks for that. Ashish concludes. Great, thank you, and we'll love to talk to you more. So I think
Ashish, hit me on LinkedIn, please.
Ashish may be fishing there a little bit, so maybe he'll be our fishing story.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Great session. So again, we're sponsored by DecisionLink, fantastic value selling platform. Tim Page and a lot of other great folks are there. We also have coming up on Thursday, 11 to 12, with Sales Impact Academy. I'm co-hosting with Mandy Cole session on a revenue leaders masterclass, measuring what matters, and there's definitely lots of great insights in here. So Tucker can maybe throw that up. And as always, brought to you also by Sales Community. If you want to learn more, sell more, network. And next week, it's going to be episode number 74. We have Mary Shea, who's at Outreach. She's the Global Innovation Evangelist, definitely super impressive. And the topic's going to be DEI best practices. So Rick, fantastic. I'll let you get another glass of water, or could be maybe Diet Coke.
Yep.
And certainly wish you the best for continued success. And we'll continue to keep an eye out. Say hi to Rob. So
I will.
For everybody who was on, appreciate it. And Tucker does a great job. This kind of gets posted everywhere, and we get most of the view. Actually, for those wondering, we get probably, depending, between 1,000 and 12,000 views within the first week between LinkedIn Live, YouTube, and all the other places it gets posted. So lots of great stuff. And you can also go look on the site. If you go to salescommunity.com, click on the picture, and you'll see actually who we have upcoming. We're booked out every week now through, I think, end of December. So we have a continued great all-star lineup, just like Rick. So, all right, Rick, thanks. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity, Randy. Take care.